pronounce my name. It's Adeola Davis Ayeloja. So, you get a sign on that J. I am a non-medium specific artist, which means I'm multidisciplinary. I've been doing art, creating, doing stuff with my hands ever since I can remember. But actually kind of took a divergent road, for a while. I was an educator for several decades. And then, but while I was teaching, I was also creating and giving my creative voice that avenue all the years. And then I retired and went into doing art full-time as a professional artist. And I've been at it, and I work in different mediums. My background actually started in printmaking for many, many years. And I love the monoprinting and calligraph. And those are the kinds of things I did in my early years to get me into paintings, and then transition into doing oil and acrylic, and also metalsmithing and sculpture. So I've enjoyed different avenues, and I now combine them to create different stories or different topics of things that are very passionate to me. I bring some of those elements back together. My sculpture, my printmaking, my paintings, all of those are now utilized to do an exhibition that has to do with a specific topic that I'm passionate about.
What's the major topic you do, or what inspire you, or what's overall the topic of your work?
The topic of my work kind of varies. So I'm very passionate as an advocate in terms of social advocacy, in terms of women advocacy, and in terms of immigrant advocacy. So those things drives some of my installations or some of my body of work. But I'm also an abstract painter. So I love painting abstract. That's the things that are not necessarily has to deal with the
representational.
Yeah. But when I do an exhibition, usually I try to have a specific theme or a specific advocacy in mind. So I've done things like that has to do, again, with women advocacy, social advocacy, and immigrant advocacy, because I am an immigrant.
Yes. So maybe we should actually start by showing this video, which is, you also explain it. I think it's...
Yeah. I'm Adeola Davis Ayeloja. Sacred Imprints, Bearing Witness to Ancestral Spirits is an exhibition inspired by my recent visit to Elmina and Cape Coast Castle in Ghana. The walls of the castles were imprinted with faces, figures, animals in abstracted form, and the heaviness of the spirits were felt more so in the dungeons, where a lot of people that were taken during the transatlantic slave trade languished and died even before making it onto the boat. Some did and some didn't. It was very profound and left me with this urgency to want to create this body of work, to use it to give a voice to the past, and as a metaphor to what we are currently dealing with in our society, our common experiences. Sacred Imprints. So I had the solo show, 2 solo shows actually in 1 year, based on this topic, because it was such a huge series to work with. So the first one we saw, the one that I was doing the explanation, that was the first one. And then the second one, I wanted to, there's more of the stories and also more of the imagery that could not fit in one show. So I had another opportunity to have another space to continue that conversation, and did this one with the cyanotype. And it was intentional because for one thing, the blue represent the water because the castle, they were coastline, they were right there, and that's how people were transported. The second one is also reminiscence of the natural pigmentations of clothing in Nigeria, which is adire, and it's like the indigo, the blue, and it has the power. So in this exhibition, everything was done in the blues, in the
Yeah.
cyanotype, and also allows me to hide a little bit of my writing, my thoughts. I'm not a poet, but I, compose series of feelings of how I felt.
Did you brought any of those material? Did you reuse any of the material that you brought from your memory, or these are all the material you use, modern material?
Well, the cyanotype was done here, but the imagery, in terms of the material, this was just a cotton material that was used as a textile. So they're not necessarily adire. This is not the authentic adire because I did a photo process of exposing the negatives of the photographs
Mm.
and layering them, because I go in before I print them out. I layer some of them or do the writing and then expose them and do a little bit of that. So the this one, the direct fabric, they were just plain cotton. It was the process of me doing the cyanotype that turns them blue.
Yeah. So, are the photo you took the photo, or there are some photo archive that you use the photo
No, these are
already?
all the photos I took. These are all
Okay.
mine.
Yeah.
Everything in here is all my photos, and then I add other elements. I create stencils to go with it, and use that in. But the photos of the space, these are all photos. They were all hunting photos that I took in the spaces in the two at the two castles.
Mhm.
Yes.
And I
So
like the idea of this blue. That was my question. So why this blue tone, which is you already explained because they are coastal, and you want to show like the connection between the water and their life and where they lifestyle, how their lifestyle was and where they are located. So that actually quite makes sense to see how this work and why you hang them in a like a hanger. Is that a reason for that, the way you display them?
yes, in African American culture and even in African culture, the clothesline, it's a way of having conversation, and people when they are at the clothesline, they use it a lot during the Underground Railroad as a way to pass information and all that. So I wanted it because it's textile. I wanted it to hang, and I was gonna have it just hang on the strings of the clothesline, but I wasn't thrilled with that. So the anger took over and become that clothesline and the essence of that communication of
Mhm.
how it's a rooted process of communicating, especially during those type of times when things are more challenging, and you hang around and you pass it down, and it goes down the line.
Yeah. So see, it even displaying and hanging work itself, it's a part of a story. And I like the way that you display this hanging, same as like, that historical movement of Underground Railroad and how people like, send message together. They would go and check this message. They would see those called, and which is there were hidden message within them. So that's itself, it's quite touching and another story for that. I you show like how you make the mask,
Yes.
and so which is we can see here there are some masks already in display. And let me actually,
Multidisciplinary artist. I work.
maybe you can explain it over the video, and
Okay.
um, at least the area where you're making. Okay, here.
Okay. So
So,
this is making the mask. This is making, if I was making the enamel, like what I'm wearing here, this is the mask in the smaller version. I don't know how close it is.
oh,
So
let
this is
me
like a
stop
mask.
sharing. Okay, yeah, now we can see it. Yes.
So this
Oh,
is a mask like in the smaller version. This is some of the ones, bigger ones that you saw in the first video on the wall with the others. But this is the essence of it. So in the one that you do, I start with a sheet of metal, whether it's a small one, a big one. I start with that, and I start to move the metal. And after moving the metal, then like the shape. This was here you see me showing how the piece was formed, and then I enamel the piece, and again there's a small mask on the side, but the one in the exhibitions were bigger ones. They're like almost size of human heads and stuff. So that's how I started out with. This is the sculpture, the clay, the head of the sculpture while I'm working on it and putting together with the sculpted clay, and then firing in it. After it's all done, sometimes I use other plaster element to build it up, you know, and then
and you
I'm,
use shell
I'm
again
applying cowrie
because they
shell.
were coastal. So the shell represent the
Yes, yes, and also cowrie shell is one of those things that's very um, um, uh, uh, used in the olden days in Africa as a trading to trade, for trades and
yes.
things like that. It has a lot of weight, so it was important to use that, in this sculpture pieces.
Yeah, so yeah, Miss Shell, because they were all trade network, in particular, like gold trade, which is started, and that's how colonization started.
Mm-hmm.
Through those trade network that supposedly be for trade, and then become colonization, and how
Yes.
Africa become colonized. And yeah, so it's a lot of work. So, for example, for an exhibition like this, going back to our to your artwork, how long it takes for you to create from start to finish something like this?
Oh, well, this exhibition I would say span over 10 years. And the reason I said over 10 years is that the mask, the enamel mask, they were done. I've always done masks. And as a way, it's one of the ways to connect with my roots and with my culture. It's part of what I, grew up with African masks and everything. So the years that I've been doing those masks, even though I wasn't aware of this exhibition coming up, everything kind of fall into place, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
So when I went for the visit, and the series doing the body of work, the paintings were done after the visit, and I had a residency opportunity in France, and it was during my residency, so I was laser focused on outpouring all these emotions and all these things that I experienced. So I did all those body of work during the residency. And then when I came back, I started working on the sculpture pieces for the exhibition, for the installation. So it all kinds of, you know,
Pieces together.
yes,
Yeah. Yeah.
So if I was to really look at the depth of it, I felt that my ancestors been talking to me, when I didn't even know they were talking to me, when I didn't know that they were saying that, because the enamel pieces of the mask in the show, those were done prior to, and when I started looking my studio, and like this, they're all talking to each other. This
Mm.
new work and this older work, they all of
Yeah.
the
So
same.
they are part of one story,
Yes,
and which is, but it came gradually.
Yes.
by piece, but all these
Yes.
pieces are
I didn't
connected.
know it then. I didn't know it
Yeah.
until,
Yeah,
that
because they were within you, because they are part of you. So when they are part of you, they come in pieces, but all connected, And then at the end you feel, oh, there is a connection. Look at this. All these are one story, right? As you say, like the wall talking, the artwork talking to each other. So that's actually the beauty of it. And these are also the painting which we saw in that room
yes,
displayed around that
yes,
installation.
yes,
So, and each one also explained part of that story, which is in those
yes.
castle you visited. Yeah. So, all what are the story of this abstract painting? Like
Well,
just
the story is what I saw on the wall. That's what I
yeah,
was
okay.
saying. Every one of these paintings is from what was on the wall. So this is actually their story. I'm just pointing it out. This I have had in the exhibition where I have this piece and I have the photos. I mean, they're not, these are not photographs. But the photos, we can look at the photographs and you can say, oh, I see, what's on there of my interpretation of it. So these are imagery that was on the wall that I brought to life in this series.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So all of these are part of what you
Yeah,
saw on
so
the
the
wall.
mask that I was
And
talking about is these masks here, the
so
full size.
the mask that you made and they are frame, those are also on the wall. Those are images of people.
Yeah, they're my own renditions of masks of growing up, of things that I see during the different masquerade events and stuff like that. And it's my own interpretation, of
Mhm.
that, being that mask is part of my culture. And I wanted to do a series of masks and of the Orisha Ibiles and things like that. So I did a body of work on masks, and the big ones. And I always also do it in smaller ones of wearable. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
so you're making into jewelry, which is
yes.
again, yeah.
And so the one we're looking at is part of my angelic series, and that is actually um, something I've always done angel for many years. When I look back in my portfolio, I'm like, oh, 30 years ago and things like that. But it was more so meaningful more and more to me when I lost my mom. It became a more of a passion that I wanted to create an angel every year as a way of commemorating her because
Mm.
she's my angel. And so this is one of them, and the series, and I have a new body of work right now that's currently and I'm working on to add to that collection
Mm.
of the angelic reference
Yeah.
series that I'm working on. So
Yeah.
yeah, so I'm currently, this is one that's down here,
Okay.
uh, that it's work in progress. Uh,
Uh-huh.
you know,
Oh, okay.
so
Wow, interesting. So in a sense, you carrying all this spirit with you. So they are spirits, those angel, the spirits that you're carrying, your mom or your ancestor,
yes,
and
yeah, yeah, I think so. Yes, yeah, that way. So, and you know, the next slide, this has to do with the owl and the kindred spirits. And the owl, this is a series that I did during the pandemic when there was lockdown.
yeah,
I needed hope. So owl symbolizes hope. Owl symbolizes, strength. And that was something that was needed during that time. So I did a
yes,
series
these
of
are.
body of work on the owl, as a way that to give us hope. I use dot motifs as a way to connect us as humanity.
Yeah,
And when you take a closer look, you see these the dots in different colors and different shapes that we might be disconnected at this moment, but we're connected, and we need to hang on to that hope during that
yeah.
difficult
So
challenge.
yeah, owl is also symbolize wisdom, right?
Yes,
Them hope, mystery, and all those that
yeah,
create this connection. Yeah, very interesting. I like that the way you create the connection, which is the idea that we are all part of this loop and we are connected, past
yes,
and present, and people.
yes. And this one
Spirit.
here, the Mystic series Again, this one I call, actually, it's a big one. It's called Mystic Connection. And again, when you look at it, there's a lot of, I call it control chaos, because there's so much going on, but it draws you in. And people, when I have this in exhibitions, stop in there and just kind of like gaze and see so many things, and they tell me, oh, I see this. Well, that's the essence of it. It pulls you in because we're connected, and also it's filled with dots, showing us that connections of who we are. And so that was part of the series. And this, along with the next few slides, I think that you have, that's all part of the Mystic Connection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think the idea of this dot and chain. Do you know the golden chain that Nigerian Yoruba culture golden story,
Mm-hmm.
golden chain, and Effie uh,
Yes.
uh,
Yes.
came down, and Effie was the creator and center of the world. And Yoruba
Yes.
always said Effie is where the world started, right? So
Mm-hmm.
everything started from that golden.
Olodumare.
Yeah,
Yes.
with the golden chain. So your work actually with all those dots remind me of this golden chain, and it came down to
But
Effie, and
yes,
how
it's
everything
all
started.
dual interpretation,
Yeah.
and that's the whole essence of it. So this series, it's called the Artful Remembrance, and again, the pandemic was a very trying time for a lot of us. We lost a lot of people, a lot of humanity. Um, were gone, and but we were coming out of it. And as we're coming out of it, it wasn't easy. Like, okay, it's over now. But as we come out of it, we started to reflect all the people that we lost.
Mhm.
And now we're happy that we're no longer being quarantined at our house and sequestered and all those things. We can now go out with the mask on. But then something is missing. Every one of us is touched either directly with people in our family that we lost, or friends, co-workers, colleagues, and things like that. And
Mhm.
it was a very trying thing. So I had a solo show, and I had something in mind before. And this was one of the things, sometimes things nudge at me. And I wanted to do that. So I end up doing this as a tribute to the people we lost and how we need to mend. These pieces here, they have a lot of quotes and a lot of affirmations about broken art, mending art, and things like that. So
Yeah.
the whole show was all about that, of how we mend. And there was stitch. If you could go back to that one, they had stitch line. They would stitch it
Okay.
in on the art pieces. When you pull it and you look close, you will see the stitch line where they would stitch with a copper wire as a way to mend.
Okay. Yeah, I see
So,
that. I see here.
yes,
That's just
each one of them were hand stitched. So after I finished painting them, then I went in to do the stitching, and that was it's very cathartic.
all they are made in canvas
They're made on paper.
paper. Okay, and then
Uh-huh.
you stitch it,
Yeah,
or you just paint the stitches. Okay.
yeah. Then and it was difficult, but it was also needed. Doing these, and I
Yeah.
had to sit down there and stick each one with the wire, and there were
To
24
create
pieces in the collection.
to create a statement, because they are not art, they are a statement.
Yeah.
So, and you're telling a story, not just necessarily a piece of beautiful art, but
No, yeah, it's a story that's needed for us to make. I had an installation in the exhibition which showcased all the names, as much as I could gather, of the people that died that were in the public realm, and had that, and invite people to add their own family members' names to that, that came to see the show. So it
yeah,
was it was very powerful that way, for people to release all that emotion, and knowing that they're remembering their loved ones.
yeah. So to create again the connection, like everybody being touched.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this was called Echoes of Shadows. This is another series that I did, and I actually had another solo show on this one. And this is has to do with immigrant issues. This was in 2019, 2020, and it was about peeling and getting to know. So I used a lot of imageries of my own shadows, that I've always enjoyed taking shadows pictures because I used to be a marathon runner. And when
Oh,
I go out to run, I'm always chasing my own shadow as a way to motivate me to go farther. So those imagery is some of the things that we're using here, and some friends that share their shadow photos. And it's really about feeling and getting to know us as individuals, who we are and what we do and things like that. So
yeah.
that's that series, and that was a follow up on that shadow narratives. And you see, being colorful compared to the first one, we started with the very neutral tone color palette.
Yeah. Wow, very
Yeah.
interesting.
So
I like it. I mean, very interesting that it makes sense. We're following our shadow.
yes, yes, and you have to come to light to see, and allowing us to come into light means you get to know me rather than discard me, because the shadow, like, I don't know you, I don't want to know you and stuff like that. So that was one of the reasons, a lot of my work tend to have that metaphor. There's always something underlying
Yeah.
behind it, you know. So
And
this is my advocacy, another advocacy project, women's health. Okay. So I did a solo show on menopause project. So now I've had two shows, and I have another one coming up on it. So I'm very passionate because menopause it's changes of life cycle, uh, for women, and it's one of those things that's not talked about uh, greatly, and it's tabooed, and and some people kind of crack up about, oh, menopause, or they write women up like, oh, you're going through menopause, as a way of saying. So I did a solo show as personal, but when I was putting the show together, I like, this story is just beyond me. I'm not the only woman that been through menopause.
yeah,
There's so many, and I think I need to reach out to other women to share their story, and hopefully sharing the story will help a younger women that are not in that stage yet coming along. And it's always good. Knowledge is power. If you can use it to advocate for yourself. So I was shocked. I had like 70 people plus from around the world, did a survey and shared their story. Some stories were very detailed. Some stories was just short. I mean, one person said, menopause for me is freedom, and all that. So I did that thing, but then I also felt the story needs to continue because of the feedback that I got during the exhibition from people that came to see it, mostly even young people and couples and things like that, because men are reading this and then maybe they get a better understanding of what their partner is going through rather than not be in. If the partner doesn't know, how would the men know? So now it's becoming more of that message where, they're both going, I really appreciate this. So the next opportunity I had, I got a grant to actually take it locally in my area in the Inland Empire and do a workshop with women that wants to share the story as a way to get them to connect. And we did the art workshop. So I was doing the cyanotype workshop. And during that, they come in and they share the story, and then they take parts or elements to create their cyanotype of their own story. They might pick one thing or two things, but each of that, and end up having to publish a book, which has their narratives along with their work, and also the work that I did in the cyanotype. And we kept
yeah,
it all cyanotype, even though I've done digital work as part of my menopause exhibition, which was me. That was my personal interpretation of menopause. And I was in that digital body of work that was
yeah.
in the.
I like the way actually you started from yourself and then it create like an ocean, like it create a movement somehow. You that's not only you, but there are others with the same issues, or with
Yeah,
not, I can't call it issues exactly, but
the woman
it's
health.
right, right? Yeah, exactly. So it's not only about you, but you are part of this,
Yes.
or one. one drop of war in this ocean. So then you
Yes.
create this movement for people to come together. And yeah,
It,
that's
it,
something
it,
actually you can avoid it. I mean, that's part of life.
I can talk to
Thank
that.
you very much, Adiola. I really enjoy it was really enlightening conversation, and I enjoy your artwork. Adeola has website and Instagram that I'm sure they are very delighted and they are very knowledgeable. And your artwork is still the same thing. You
Thank
follow
you.
your
And can we go
work
back to
has
that one?
spirits.
Like, can we
Pardon?
go back to that slide with the book so that
Yep.
people can have a chance to look at uh
Yeah.
the QR
The
code? If they wanted to, if they're interested in the book for to gift to someone that needs this. You know,
Yeah,
I pretty much
this book
gifted
is
I
not
gifted
academic, it's real story. So
uh,
it's touch people heart and
yes,
touch people lifestyle and what they've been through or they're going through.
yeah,
So it's I think very important for people to know they are not alone and they all going
exactly,
through this experience.
exactly.
Thank you very much, Adiola. I appreciate and enjoy the rest of your day. Hopefully, we see more of you and your artwork soon.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, and thanks, Nawa. Awesome.